Imagine for a moment that Seneca, the great master of Stoicism, were here, living in our chaotic consumerist world. How would he face the financial challenges that trap us in debt, anxiety, and frustration? How would he break the cycle of poverty? In just 7 days? Sound impossible? I assure you it's not. Seneca left us timeless wisdom, and today I'm going to show you how to apply this practical philosophy to transform your financial life. Starting now, you're about to discover the steps that can free you from the invisible chains that hold you back. But beware, this video is not for those looking for excuses or shortcuts. It's for those who are willing to take action, face the truth head-on, and take charge of their lives. Stay with me until the end, because each of the 7 days brings a powerful lesson that could be the turning point in your journey. And before we dive into this transformative journey, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Here, we combine the wisdom of the Stoics with practical strategies for achieving financial freedom and living a life in line with your values. Activate the bell so you don't miss any content like this, and share it with someone who needs to hear these truths. Shall we go together? The change starts now. Day 1. Face reality without fear. The first step to breaking the cycle of poverty is to face financial reality bluntly, just as Seneca would. Imagine yourself living in a house that looks immaculate on the outside, but inside is full of cracks and leaks. Ignoring these problems won't make them go away. In fact, it will only make them worse. The same goes for your finances. How many times have you avoided opening the bank app or looking at your credit card bill? This fear of facing the numbers is like a shadow that grows the more you run away from it. Seneca reminds us that the man who fears the truth is the slave of his own ignorance. And here's the truth: ignoring your financial situation is the quickest route to disaster. Facing reality takes courage. It's not easy to admit that you may have made mistakes or that your situation is far from ideal. But Stoicism teaches us that the first step towards any transformation is to accept the facts as they are, without drama, without excuses. Take pen and paper or open a spreadsheet on your computer and list everything: your earnings, your expenses, and your debts. Every detail matters. It's not about judging or blaming yourself, but about understanding exactly where you are now. Think of it like a diagnosis. You can't treat a disease without knowing what the problem is. When doing this exercise, you may feel uncomfortable or even ashamed. That's normal. But remember, the pain of facing the truth today is much less than the prolonged suffering of living in denial. Seneca said, "Difficulty comes from our hesitation to begin." As soon as you take that first step, you'll notice that the weight starts to fall off. Facing the numbers is liberating because it turns something nebulous and scary into something concrete and manageable. What's more, by listing your finances, you'll begin to identify harmful patterns and behaviors. You may realize that you're spending more than you earn on superfluous things, or that you don't have a clear plan for paying off your debts. These insights are essential for changing your financial trajectory. It's like clearing land before building a house. Only after removing the rubble can you begin to erect something solid. Seneca would also teach us that facing financial reality is not just a practical matter, it's an exercise in virtue. Honesty with yourself is one of the greatest demonstrations of inner strength. When you take full responsibility for your situation, you stop being a victim of circumstances and become the author of your story. This change in mentality is powerful and transformative. And here's the crucial point: facing up to your financial reality doesn't mean solving everything in one day. It's just about taking the first step, the most important of all. It's about creating a map to understand where you are and starting to chart the path to where you want to go. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not over external events. Use this power to transform your relationship with money. Finally, remember that this process doesn't have to be done alone. If necessary, seek help, be it from a trusted friend, a financial mentor, or even free online resources. The important thing is to start now, because every day wasted in denial is another day trapped in the cycle of poverty. Face your numbers with stoic courage and start the change you deserve. Day 2. Control your desires. We live in an age where consumption is glorified. At every turn, we are bombarded with advertisements promising happiness in exchange for material goods. The newest car, the latest smartphone, the clothes that will make you belong. But Seneca, with his timeless wisdom, would warn us against this trap. He would say, "He is not poor who has little, but who desires much." And this phrase carries a powerful truth. The problem is not what you have, but how much you want. The second day of this journey is about learning to control those desires and focus on the essentials. Stoicism teaches us that true freedom begins when we distinguish between need and desire. Needs are simple: food, shelter, adequate clothing. Desires, on the other hand, are luxuries that drain your bank account and perpetuate the cycle of dissatisfaction. Think about it. How many times have you bought something motivated by the emotion of the moment, only to realize later that you didn't need it? Each impulsive purchase is a small brick in the construction of a financial prison. Seneca would invite us to reflect before each expense. Ask yourself, do I really need this, or am I giving in to an impulse? This simple question can be transformative. It's not about living in deprivation or giving up legitimate pleasures, but about making conscious choices. When you stop and think before you spend, you are exercising the stoic virtue of self-control, and the more you practice this virtue, the stronger it becomes. Furthermore, controlling your desires doesn't mean abandoning the idea of pleasure or comfort. On the contrary, it means redefining what brings you true satisfaction. Instead of seeking happiness in ephemeral material objects, Seneca would encourage us to find joy in more lasting things. Meaningful moments with loved ones, the sense of peace in knowing that your finances are under control, or even the simple pleasure of living within your means. The impact of this change in mentality goes beyond the financial. When you learn to control your desires, you begin to realize that much of what you thought you needed was just an illusion created by consumer society. This frees you up to focus on what really matters and gives you a sense of autonomy and power over your life. Seneca would also remind us that controlling desires is a daily exercise. Don't expect to change your habits overnight. Start small. Set clear limits on superfluous spending and challenge yourself to go a week without giving in to impulse purchases. Each small victory reinforces your discipline and brings you closer to financial freedom. Finally, remember that every dollar you save today is a brick in the construction of your future. By cutting out excesses and focusing on the essentials, you're not just saving money, you're gaining something much greater: freedom. Freedom to invest in what really matters to you, whether it's a long-held dream or your family's financial security. As Seneca would say, wealth consists much more in reducing desires than in increasing possessions. Make this principle your guide and start transforming your relationship with money right now. Day 3. Create a clear plan. On the third day of this journey, it's time to take an essential step that Seneca would surely recommend: creating a clear and objective financial plan. Imagine a sailor sailing the high seas without a map or knowing where he is going. He may even be counting on favorable winds, but without a defined destination, he will be adrift, wasting energy and time. Seneca said, "If a man does not know where he's sailing, no wind will be favorable." And this metaphor is perfect for describing the importance of having a financial plan. Without it, you'll remain lost, reacting to problems instead of controlling them. The first step in creating such a plan is to set specific goals. It's not enough to say, I want to save money or I want to get out of debt. You need to be clear and detailed. Exactly how much do you want to save? What is the total value of your debts and how soon do you want to pay them off? How much do you want to invest for the future? Vague goals lead to vague results, so set concrete figures and realistic deadlines. Remember that Stoicism values clarity and deliberate action. Once you've set your goals, break them down into smaller, more manageable steps. For example, if your goal is to save $10,000 in a year, that means putting away approximately $833 per month. What adjustments can you make to your budget to reach this amount? This process of breaking down larger goals into smaller steps makes the goal less intimidating and more achievable. As Seneca reminds us, no great enterprise is ever completed at once. Also, when creating your financial plan, it's crucial to prioritize your actions. If you're in debt, paying off those debts should be your #1 priority. Debts accumulate interest that can snowball out of control. Identify the debts with the highest interest and focus on them first. At the same time, set aside a small amount to create an emergency reserve. Even if it's small at first, it will give you security against unforeseen events. Another important element of your plan is to include room for adjustments and unforeseen events. Life is full of surprises, good and bad, and your plan needs to be flexible enough to deal with them. Stoicism teaches us to accept what we cannot control while focusing on what is within our reach. If something unexpected happens, like a medical expense or a reduction in income, adjust your plan without giving up on your main goals. Creating a financial plan also requires mental discipline. Seneca would warn us against procrastination. While we hesitate, life passes by. Don't wait for the perfect moment or ideal conditions to get started. They'll never come. Start today with the resources and information you have now. An imperfect plan put into practice is worth much more than a perfect plan that never gets off the ground. Finally, remember to review your plan regularly. Just as a sailor adjusts his sails as the winds change, you should also review your goals and strategies as your life evolves. You may be able to save more than you planned in some months, or need to adjust deadlines at other times. The important thing is to stay focused on the final destination while adapting along the way. With a clear plan in hand, you stop being held hostage by financial circumstances and take control of your journey towards financial freedom. This act of planning is not only practical, it is also a powerful demonstration of the Stoic virtue of prudence, the ability to make wise decisions based on reason and long-term vision. So grab a pen and paper or open a spreadsheet right now and start charting your path with clarity. Day 4. Adopt Stoic discipline. Discipline is at the heart of Stoicism, and Seneca knew this better than anyone. He said, "Constancy is the basis of virtue. On the 4th day of this journey, it's time to embrace discipline as your most powerful ally." After all, without discipline, even the best financial plans are just empty intentions. This is the time to turn your goals into concrete, daily actions, because it's these small, consistent actions that generate big results over time. Discipline doesn't mean deprivation or suffering. It means commitment to what really matters. Think about it. How many times have you given up on something because it seemed difficult or because the results didn't come immediately? Stoicism teaches us to value slow and steady progress. Just as a sculptor shapes a masterpiece one chisel stroke at a time, you shape your financial freedom through small daily decisions. Every choice counts. Start by identifying financial habits that need to be adjusted. Perhaps you spend too much on meals out or subscriptions you don't even use. How about starting to prepare your meals at home? As well as saving money, you gain control over your diet and health. Or maybe it's time to dedicate an hour of your day to learning about investments or financial education. Discipline lies in making these conscious choices and sticking to them, even when the temptation to revert to old habits arises. Seneca would remind us that discipline also involves knowing how to say no. Saying no to impulsive consumption, waste, and even distractions that steal your time and energy. Every time you say no to something that doesn't contribute to your goals, you're saying yes to your financial freedom and the life you want to build. Don't underestimate the power of this simple but transformative act. And here's a powerful secret. Discipline isn't something you're born with. It's built through daily practice. At first, it may seem difficult to resist temptations or stick to your commitments, but the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. As Seneca said, "Nothing is so difficult that it cannot be conquered by persistence." Every day that you act with discipline, you are strengthening this mental and emotional muscle. Also, remember to celebrate your small victories along the way. Paid off a minor debt? Celebrate. Did you manage to save more than you expected this month? Recognize your efforts. These celebrations reinforce your progress and motivate you to keep going. Stoicism teaches us to focus on the process, not just the end result, and that makes every step meaningful. Finally, adopting Stoic discipline means understanding that it is not a restriction on your freedom, it is the way to achieve it. When you act with discipline, you are taking control of your life and your finances. You are choosing to be the captain of your destiny rather than being led by circumstances or momentary impulses. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not over external events." Use this power to build the financial life you want, one disciplined day at a time. Day 5. Face the risks wisely. On the 5th day of this journey, it's time to address a fundamental truth. Growth requires the courage to take risks. Seneca wasn't against taking risks. He was against taking foolish and unnecessary risks. He used to say, "Fortune favors the prepared." This phrase reminds us that success is not a matter of pure luck, but the result of calculated and well-planned decisions. At this point, you should look at the opportunities around you and decide which ones are worth pursuing, always with wisdom and strategy. Taking risks doesn't mean acting impulsively or without thinking. On the contrary, it's about carefully evaluating the possibilities and making informed decisions. Think of an experienced investor. He doesn't put all his money on a single bet, but diversifies his options, minimizing potential losses while maximizing gains. Similarly, in your financial life, you should analyze opportunities calmly. Perhaps it's time to invest in something new, start a side project, or even look for a new source of income. But before you act, ask yourself, am I prepared to deal with the consequences of this risk? Fear of failure is one of the biggest obstacles for anyone who wants to grow. It paralyzes you and prevents you from exploring your true potential. But here's the Stoic lesson. Without risk, there is no progress. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not over external events." This means that failure itself is never the problem. The problem lies in how you react to it. Every mistake or obstacle faced when taking risks is an opportunity to learn and grow stronger. Seneca would teach us that calculated risk is a powerful tool for achieving extraordinary results. However, he would also warn us about the importance of preparation. Before making any risky decision, make sure you have a contingency plan. For example, if you're thinking of changing careers or starting your own business, set aside an emergency fund to cover basic expenses while you work on the transition. Preparation reduces anxiety and increases your chances of success. Another important point is to understand that not all risks pay off, and that's okay. Stoicism teaches us to accept outcomes with serenity, whether they are positive or negative. As Seneca said, life does not consist in waiting for the storms to pass, but in learning to dance in the rain. If a risk doesn't work out, see it as a valuable lesson and use this learning to make better decisions in the future. In addition, facing risks wisely also means recognizing your limitations and seeking help when necessary. Don't hesitate to consult experts or more experienced people before making big financial decisions. Shared knowledge can shed light on paths you might not have considered on your own. Finally, remember that the biggest risk of all is not taking any risks and remaining stuck in mediocrity. Financial and personal stagnation is the price paid by those who choose the comfort of the known over the possibility of growth. Seneca would encourage us to embrace uncertainty with courage and determination, knowing that every bold step brings us closer to financial freedom and self-mastery. So today, look at the challenges in front of you as opportunities in disguise and take the next step with confidence. Day 6. Reassess your values. On the 6th day of this journey, Seneca would invite us to pause and look inwards. He would challenge us to reflect on our deepest values, because therein lies the true basis of our financial decisions and our life as a whole. Happiness does not depend on what we have, but on what we are, he would say. And this phrase is a powerful reminder that money alone will never be enough to fill the void of a life disconnected from one's principles. Today, you must ask yourself, why do you seek money? Is it to impress others or to live a life aligned with what really matters to you? We live in a society where a person's value is often measured by what they own, the car they drive, the clothes they wear, or the neighborhood they live in. But do these external standards really reflect who you are? Stoicism teaches us to reject this incessant search for external validation. Seneca would remind us that true wealth lies not in material possessions, but in the freedom to live according to our values. Ask yourself, are my financial choices in line with my principles, or am I just trying to meet the expectations of others? Reevaluating your values is a liberating exercise. Often we spend money on things that don't bring us real satisfaction because we're stuck with standards imposed by society or social media. Maybe you've bought expensive clothes to look successful or taken a job just for the paycheck, even though you know it doesn't reflect your passion or purpose. Stoicism challenges us to abandon these illusions and focus on what really matters: honesty, freedom, emotional security, and a meaningful life. This process of reflection can be uncomfortable at first, but it is essential for making more conscious and meaningful financial decisions. Seneca would say that the happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. So start by identifying your core values. What is most important to you? Financial freedom, time with your family, contributing to something bigger. When you clearly define these values, it becomes easier to align your actions and your spending with them. In addition, reevaluating your values also means recognizing the impact of your financial choices on your emotional well-being and peace of mind. Spending money on something that is not in line with your principles may bring momentary satisfaction, but usually results in regret or dissatisfaction in the long term. On the other hand, investing in experiences or projects that reflect your values generates a lasting sense of purpose and fulfillment. Seneca would also warn us about the dangers of living by other people's standards. He would say, "He who wishes to be free must abandon the desire to please others." This means letting go of the need to impress people whose opinions don't matter and focusing on what really makes sense to you. This change of mindset not only improves your relationship with money, but also brings a deep sense of emotional freedom. Finally, re-evaluating your values is an ongoing act. As your life evolves, your goals and priorities may change, and that's okay. The important thing is to stick to the process of constant reflection and adjustment. When your financial decisions reflect your deepest values, you feel less stress and more satisfaction with every choice you make. As Seneca would say, true happiness lies in living according to your nature. So today, take a moment to reflect on who you are and what really matters to you, because that's where your true financial freedom begins. Day 7. Accept change and move forward. We've reached the 7th day of this journey, and Seneca would leave us with one of the most profound lessons of Stoicism. Change is inevitable, and resisting it is pointless. He said, "Nothing is permanent except change." This universal truth may be uncomfortable, but it is also liberating. In the financial context, this means understanding that your journey will not be linear. There will be ups and downs, gains and losses, moments of success and unexpected challenges. The key to moving forward is to accept these changes calmly and use them as opportunities to grow. Resistance to change is a common trap. We often prefer the comfort of the known to the challenge of the new, even if the known is hurting us. Perhaps you're stuck in a job you don't like, or in financial habits that you know are harmful, but you hesitate to change for fear of the unknown. Stoicism teaches us that this resistance only prolongs suffering. Accepting change doesn't mean passive resignation. It means acting wisely in the face of unavoidable circumstances. Seneca would encourage us to use this day to adjust our financial plan as necessary. Perhaps you've noticed throughout the week that some goals need to be revisited, or that certain habits require more time to be transformed. That's okay. Flexibility is a Stoic virtue. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment through action advances action. What is in the way becomes the way." Every obstacle or unexpected change can be transformed into an opportunity to learn and adapt. Accepting change also requires emotional resilience. Imagine a tree during a storm. A rigid tree can break with the wind, but a flexible tree bends and survives. In the same way, you must learn to adapt to financial fluctuations or life changes without losing your balance. This may mean adjusting your spending during a period of economic crisis, or looking for new sources of income when the old ones run out. Another important aspect is staying informed and prepared to deal with change. Seneca would say that fortune favors the prepared. Be aware of economic trends, emerging opportunities, and possible challenges on the horizon. Knowledge is your best tool for navigating life's uncertainties with confidence and clarity. In addition, adopting a Stoic mindset in the face of change means focusing on what is within your control, your reactions and choices, while calmly accepting what you cannot change. For example, you can't control the fluctuations of the financial market or the government's economic policies, but you can control how you manage your money in the face of these circumstances. Finally, remember that every change brings with it a valuable lesson or a new possibility. Even difficult times can be stepping stones to something greater if you approach them with the right mindset. As Epictetus taught, don't expect things to happen as you wish them to happen as they should. Accepting reality as it is, and not as you would like it to be, is an act of courage and wisdom. Today, use this day to reflect on the changes that have already taken place in your financial life this week, and how you can keep moving forward with resilience. Adjust your plan as necessary, celebrate your achievements so far, and prepare for the challenges ahead with Stoic confidence. The journey doesn't end here. It's just beginning. Accept life's transformations as a natural part of the human process. and discover how they can open doors to an even brighter future. Now that you've gone through this journey and discovered how to apply Stoic principles to transform your financial life, the question that remains is, what are you going to do with this knowledge? Seneca would teach us that knowing the way is not enough. You have to walk it. Life is too short to be wasted on endless financial worries or an empty search for external validation. You have the power to change, to take control of your finances, and to live with more freedom, purpose, and peace of mind. Remember, each of the 7 steps we've seen here, from facing reality to accepting the inevitable changes, is a fundamental piece in the puzzle of your financial freedom. No matter where you are now, the important thing is to start. Every small conscious decision you make today will be a brick in the construction of a more stable, happier future that is more in line with your values. As Seneca said, "While we hesitate, life passes us by." But don't let this learning die here. If this video has inspired you or given you new ideas, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video now and subscribe to the channel to keep receiving content like this, full of practical and life-changing lessons. And don't forget to activate the bell to be notified whenever we publish something new. Most importantly, share this video with someone who needs to hear these truths. It could be a friend, a family member, or even someone you know who is trapped in the cycle of poverty or financial worries. Together, we can spread this Stoic wisdom and help more people achieve the financial freedom they deserve. The time to act is now. You deserve a better life. So go ahead and start building it today. As the Stoics taught us, the control is in your hands.